Yeah, well, that's the worst thing that happens with him in the car. I'm good. I had a friend who left his dog in the car. Hate to see
Okay, we'll call the meeting to order. I believe it is 7:01. Let's start with the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States. Well, thank you all for coming to our January 15th board meeting. Clerk Pern, could you do a roll call, please?
I can see that you're here, but I'll do it here. Let me turn this on.
If the green light's on, you're good. If it is.
Yes, okay, roll call. Bertrand,
Here.
Pern, here. Hobbs. Here. Monet.
Here.
And Detmer is
He is excused,
excused.
and we're hoping it's not COVID.
Yes.
Okay, things may be a little bit more disjointed for me tonight than you usually see. Burning the candle real hard. This is the third 12-hour day with board meetings. So I'll do my best, and we'll get through it. Right off the bat, for the agenda, it was a very short agenda when this was put out. Lots of things happened, so there are several additions that I'm going to put on there. The FOIA was number one. Work session videos was number two. I'm going to add number three is to continue the health insurance policy for the township. Number four is the AMVETS lawyer approval. We have some information we need to discuss. Number five is the Higgins Lake United lawsuit. Same situation, we need to discuss some things on it. Actually, I doubled up on one, but we'll go past it. Number seven is hiring of an ordinance officer sexton / sexton. That would be a dual position. Number eight is a recommendation to appoint Corey Plum to one of the boards. Number nine is a recommendation to appoint Richard Mapplebeck to one of the boards. Number 10 is a recommendation to appoint Lyon trustee Timothy Monet to one of the boards. Number 11 is the plan to correct a tax overcharge. And number 12 is budget meeting dates. So I'm sorry this all got added. In every effort to post the meeting agenda sooner, it's turning out that it doesn't work out really well because so many other things pop up. So we'll look at trying to do it differently. So for that agenda, I will move that we approve the agenda as modified. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Yay.
Opposed? Okay, the motion carries. So we're going to move into elected board and department reports and comments. I will, to the audience here, all of the reports are available on the back table. We're making a serious effort to have complete transparency with everything that we do. So they're on the back table for you to have. But we're going to also go over them because the video record will be what's posted on the webpage so that anybody watching that actually understands what happened here too. So for the, excuse me here. The first one is for the ordinance officer, and I am the acting ordinance officer. I did take 2 calls. One of them was a repeat of something, and it really didn't have any, there was nothing the township could do about it. The person is in litigation with their neighbor. So that one's passing off of the radar. The other one was about signs, for sale signs, that were put on the side of the road because previously that person had signs and the previous ordinance officer had told him he had to remove them. I went and took a look at them, and the signs are actually, it's still in that road right-of-way thing for the county. That is such a gray area, there's no sense even trying to get into it. Last year, you may have noticed for the political signs, the county, they used to try and pick them up, and I think they got sued for like, you took mine, but not his. They don't even touch them anymore. If it's in that county right away, I'm not touching it. It's a for sale sign for a house, so it's not the worst thing in the world. Are there any questions on that in regarding for the ordinance officer contacts that I had? Okay, moving on to the sexton. I had one contact from a couple who want to sell their 2 lots back to the township. And I had found 2 different prices on what it's worth. That's partially why we're going to hire the ordinance officer sexton combination, because we need to figure out if the price changed from 4 years ago to last year, why that happened, what the difference was, and get that resolved for her by spring. They were happy that got a hold of her and happy I told her what we were going to do about it. So that was all right. Any questions on the sexton in the cemetery? Okay, moving on to the third one, that would be the fire department. So JC being the fire chief, I believe has a report, and that report is also on that back table. But JC, if you'd come up and use a microphone, that way it'll get on that video as it should be. Steal my candy.
All right,
If you got the green light, you're good.
I'm good. So as far as fire department, we got a few things here going on. I got invited to, our department got invited to Tip Up Town parade this year. And I have 1 truck, 2 personnel going in that parade. That's on the 18th.
Let me stop you just long enough. Sam, can you hear him in the back? Okay, good, thanks.
And then next item would be, we've been up to 7 runs this year so far. Went on 4 of them, turned 3 over for lack of personnel on that one. And when we turn a run, just to make something clear, when we turn a run over, it doesn't leave the township uncovered. I have a mutual aid agreement with Garish. We also have a mutual aid agreement with Holton Lake Ambulance. So if I don't have personnel, someone's always here to cover Lyon Township. So they're never uncovered. We had a big water damage in the fire department this year. It came in, found our hot water heater leaking water down into our gear room. I got both estimates from the electrician and the drywall guy. And we're looking at, just for replacement, removal and replacement, we're looking at over $15,000. But luckily it falls under the insurance, so I'll submit it tomorrow to the adjuster and we'll go from there to see what happens. New truck is sitting up in Grayling at CSI, and it's getting add-ons done to it, like the lettering, the cabinets, the air tank racks in the chairs and all so forth. We're looking at early February for delivery on that. I don't know if you're aware of it, but Lyon Township hosts Winterfest every year now. And it's held at Park 27, and at the fire department we do pancake breakfast in the morning, and then we do a chili cook-off. We support the chili cook-off there. We're looking for volunteers for pancake breakfast, for cooking, serving, and helping out around. Anybody's welcome to come join. It'd be great to have you people there. I'm in the process of looking for a new training officer at the fire department. Training officer doesn't have to have any instructor one class or anything like that, 'cause it's all in-house training. And then, on a good note, great note, we had some visitors today at the fire department. We did a first aid training for our local Girl Scout group.
Cool.
The EMS department, they put it on, and the girls got their first aid badge, and they had a great time and enjoyed it. She made a lot of goodie bags for the kids, and it just turned out great. And that's all I got for the fire department. Any questions?
Yeah, if anybody's got a question for him while he's here.
I did have one, Chief. What are the dates of the pancake breakfast? Do you know offhand?
January 18th, or, no, excuse me. No, I have to get that and find out exactly for sure. I'll get with you. Do you remember them? There we go.
February 15th.
Huh?
February 15th.
February 15th. And I believe the pancake breakfast runs from 7 to 11,
Yes.
and then we switch over to chili cook-off. So,
Cool.
and then we do have at Park 27, I guess they have a hayride type thing with horse and buggy, and then I'm gonna need help. I'll get to that maintenance part of that there, but, so, that's it for the fire department.
Any questions from residents out there?
How
For
many
the chief?
volunteers are you looking for, JC?
As many as possible. I gotta have cooks, we gotta have people help take out trash, you know.
We need like 10.
So I'll never turn anybody away, so don't matter how many.
Yeah, for anybody who, somebody said maybe 10, so anybody who sees this video, certainly get a hold of JC or get a hold of the township office.
We have our first meeting this Thursday with one of the representatives from Winterfest, so.
All right, if there's no other questions, then you're next on the maintenance and compost site too.
Yes. All right, so I've been trying to do it in the past of getting an AED, advanced defibrillator for the township here to keep at the office.
Just to see if we can figure out which one it is. All right, we're good.
And so I've been looking on them online. I found some refurbished ones for the AED and the cabinet. I'm looking at somewhere around $700-800 for the whole thing. And it'll be set up front. And everybody says, well, we have to go to class. You don't. AEDs tell you exactly what to do step by step. She even shows you where to put the pads at. So I'm looking into that for the township to put up front, because we do have, I have to find it, but somewhere here in the building, there's Narcan. So, I'll get that all in the same area. I've done the oil change on the township truck. I still got a safety, inspection due every year on it. Basically doing a DOT inspection on the truck, make sure brakes are good. Paul Olson requested that a couple years ago for safety reasons. I talked to Courtney. I'm looking at what I still have in parks budget. I didn't do much last year as far as parks. I did fence posts at Phoenix. I did some new wood chips in the 2 parks, but I haven't done really much. And I got some good ideas. I'll run by the board once I've looked into it more.
But you did post on both sides of the
Yes,
road.
on both sides of the road, because they were having problems with people parking
Parking, right?
on Phoenix, or, was it Parkway, is the name of the road, I think, right? So, that helped a lot, I guess. Biggest thing is, I don't know if you know, last year, I did the entire maintenance job myself. I can't do it anymore. So we need to start looking into getting help for leaf pickup, snow plow if something happens, and so forth. That's all I got for maintenance.
Anybody in, any of the residents got any questions for him about that? Question?
Yeah, because he's doing this job himself, does he get a raise? I mean, everybody else seems to get one. I'm just asking, I mean, he does a lot of.
Well, it's a good question.
Everybody got it. Secretary's down. and he got nothing.
It's a good question, and this is one of the reasons that we put all the questions on the web site, because this was asked before and we explained it before, and it is on there, just as, but I'll explain it again. We need to do the budget before we can start looking at what all the pay rates are and what we can do moving forward. So we will be starting into the budget in 2 weeks. And that was the same answer before 6 weeks ago. So we can't do anything right now.
We gave everybody a raise the first night.
I'm well aware. We're looking at it. We're just not where we can see the money correctly yet.
Okay.
The hiring, or to look at a sexton or an ordinance officer sexton is the first piece. Put that in place, and we can build around that, figure out whether we need maintenance and a half. You know, everything is got to get put together based on what's in the budget. We can't make a move until we're into the budget. So I appreciate it. I'm glad you're asking again, because somebody who didn't see it 6 weeks ago, would have the same question.
No,
So good.
I don't get them.
Yes.
Could you do the, ordinance sexton maintenance helper?
After kicking that around for 6 weeks, it landed on, we're gonna make a motion tonight to approve the hiring of an ordinance officer / sexton. If the board does not agree to that, it's not gonna happen that way. But we looked at various combinations, and that's where we landed to go first.
Okay.
Any other questions for JC? All right, as promised, if you don't wanna hang around, you don't have to. That's all you had to do.
Thank you.
Okay, and thank you for that, yes. Next on the list is our treasurer, and he's gonna explain some things, and I'm gonna let you know now that there'll be a motion later on in relation to what he's going to tell you about here in his report.
Well, let's start there, I guess. And in doing the millages for the winter taxes, the county has to approve their own millages. Basically, they give us the millages, we put them in, we send it back to them, they give us the okay, which we got the okay, and then the treasurer retired and her deputy took over January 1st, and she pointed out to me that we had made a mistake on the township operating millage. It was recorded at the wrong number. So basically, there'll be a credit coming back in the summer, and it's not a lot. It basically depends on your taxable value. If everybody's got their tax bill, it's your taxable value of your home times the operating millage. So, it could be anywhere from $3 to $20. But she did catch it, and it got by the township and the county at the time. So instead of redoing everybody's taxes for the winter, it's just easier to send it out as a credit on your summer tax. So I don't know if anybody's got any questions about that.
I don't. Any of the residents have any questions? As I mentioned, we'll deal with a motion about this later on. Okay, we're gonna move on. Next is the clerk. Clerk Pern, what do you got for us?
Well,
You're gonna have to use that.
I manage, as long as Courtney's there to hold my hand, we manage to stay pretty busy every day. I wish the 9 to 2 hours were realistic, but they're not, because we very seldom finish at 2 o'clock, very seldom. And most of us are in about 8:30. Well, anyways, the gist of things that we put together was on the 2nd of December, we had a monthly board payroll due, and the employee payroll semi-monthly was due. They were handled. On the 2nd, we also had a special meeting And all those minutes are available, and most are available on the website, are they not?
Everything that, well, today we're gonna approve 2 more sets, but once we approve them here, they can go on the webpage.
Okay.
We can't put, I mean, people ask for them, we can't put them out there until
Sure.
we approve them.
All right, we attended a board work session on December 11th. Again, all the gist of the material that we discussed will be available to all of you. On the 13th, the employee payroll semi-monthly was due, that was put out. The monthly payables, we cut the deadline was 12/16. That's when they were covered. 12/18 was the big board meeting, and once again, I will say this, thank you all for coming out. This night was not very nice. It's cold. I know that you'd rather be in a fireplace or something like that, but we appreciate you coming. We had all that stuff with that. That's going to be approved tonight, I believe, the minutes from the 18th. I think.
Yes, 18th
Yeah,
and one other
18th
meeting.
Then for Christmas, we were closed Christmas Eve and Christmas Day, and we had our last special meeting on 12/30. But like I said, there is phone calls every day, there's questions that we do our best to answer, and we've been getting an awful lot of nice responses. When somebody leaves a question on the answering machine, they get handled by about 9:30 the next day. And the people said, well, we weren't getting some answers back before, but we are now. Thank you very much for calling, and we appreciate that. A pat on the back is not what we're after, but it's rather nice to get a thank you rather than get yelled at. So that pretty much wraps up our clerk's December. Questions, anything? Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you, Clerk Byrne. In an effort to continually improve in what we're doing, and a learning curve is steep, we would also be adding trustee reports. If Mr. Monet or Trustee Monet wants to say something today, that's fine. As I mentioned, Trustee Detmer he's been really sick for 3 days, and I hope this isn't something that, let's just hope it ain't something worse. But anyway, Trustee Monet, if you want to say something, fine, but, pretty much it's up to you.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. Good evening. So for me this evening, let's see, I attended my first GLUA board meeting as an appointee on Monday evening. I've been doing my due diligence for weeks now, going through every single resolution, amendment, or otherwise this township's put together for the last 4 years for procedural discrepancies, as well as engineering reports that are over 1,700 pages for the GLUA. And I will continue to do that. Last night, I attended the Lyon Township board meeting where I announced the settlement agreement stipulated for the Higgins Lake United lawsuit. And for those who aren't aware, I'll just go through it really quickly. I did not bring the whole thing with me this evening. Basically, it states that we have decided to stipulate agreement with the plaintiff, I think who they are, that we have abandoned the sewer project as it stands. We have abandoned the special assessment district as it stands. If GLUA tries to implement a new special assessment district for this project, we will vote no. And moving forward, we'll just have to wait and see what happens. But as of right now, and also too, all petitions, past, present, or otherwise, are now invalid, unusable, and off the record for procedural discrepancies to the sufficiency of petitions. I'd also like to take this time to have a clarification about last night, that I had made the comment, and I thought I was pretty clear about Lyon Township's proposed steering committee. I am not opposed to their committees whatsoever. Great, do your thing, form a water research committee. I only said I was opposed to the name. I don't like steering names. It's like, and that's what I said last night, we don't need another government entity that makes it more meaningful than what people have asked for the last 4 years to steer us. when there's a lot of intelligent people out there. For me, it was a delegation, it's a coalition of people, and I know that someone has to be in charge. It's just the name, it just hits me wrong, and I've had other people tell me that. So I do want to clarify that. I think it's great, and I hope moving forward there will be a joint effort between both municipalities to make sure that water quality stays at the highest level. Another thing I'd like to clear up, as long as I can take this time right now, is that it's come up quite a few times that for some reason, there are those who feel that this board right now will not represent all the people. Well, I guess the only thing I can say about that is that if a lake stewardship watershed program for lake water quality isn't for everyone, I don't know who it's for. Just because, and I'll speak for myself, I may not be for the proposed step sewer system as presented, doesn't mean that I don't want everyone to be involved. Doesn't mean I'm not going to represent you. I mean, it's human nature that if you don't like something, obviously you're just going to think, well, that's it. And yeah, I hope everyone can get on board eventually to something better. Thank you.
Other than the comments, is there any questions to what Trustee Monet said as far as his duties as the township trustee? Okay, we will move on. Next is the supervisor report. This is December 18th to January 15th, working daily with a spectacular team on improved coordination with the upgrading of the functionality of our township operations, accepted resignations and made appointment recommendations for several boards, continued to upgrade a resident to supervisor contact request form and process, excuse me, met the deadline on several allocations and an amendment to the previous board's American Rescue Act plan resolution, amended the budget to finalize the early delivery of the township's new fire truck, participated in the wonderful Wreaths Across America ceremony with the Ambets, and that was a pleasure. Began initial point of sale time of transfer septic ordinance and short-term rental discussions. Laying the groundwork to begin the new budget, met with the Roscommon County Road Commissioner, manager, foreman, and engineer to discuss future township road planning. I personally inspected all the road ends and the road drains in this township, and I actually went and looked at all of the ones in Garish Township too. I met with the Higgins Lake Utility Authority Supervisor Kim Van Uck and also Brian Cook, the appointee for the 50-50 position. Met with the CPA Dan Smith to review the budget issues and attended my first meeting as a GLUA board rep for the Lyon Township. Great month. Couldn't be more humbled by the trust of the residents who put us here to restore their rights. Since then, or in addition to, there's no updates yet on the fire department recruiting that we're going to be getting into. The short-term rental ordinance and the point of sale time of transfer very soon. These are going to be foundations that we use to add to. We are in discussion on cleaning up the records room. I also attended the GLUA meeting, my first meeting. I'm not happy that we were not allowed to vote and it was tabled as if we didn't know or we weren't prepared. I think I made that clear there. The Garish meeting was a pleasure to announce that our plans are to move forward based on a resident mandate rather than be dictated to, similar to what Trustee Monet said, have steering and advisory boards that are basically preloaded to have only one outcome or a series of outcomes that suits other people's needs. I personally differ a little bit. I'm not for that at all. I have no use for preordained or agendas. And also at the meeting, someone mentioned, excuse me again, operating for the residents or the majority of the residents. with the consideration that there's about 1,500 registered voters here, 760 of them voted for us. And the assumption was made, well, then all those other people actually supported a sewer and we didn't take their opinions into consideration. I don't think that's what those other people thought. If they were that fired up about it, they'd have showed up to vote. So my personal feeling is we will run with the agenda of the people who put us in office. And we will take opinions from everybody. But that's currently what my position is on it. The videos, we are going to change to where Dave films not only the board meeting but the work sessions. Proves to be folly not to do it. They're a great tool. So we're going to move in that direction. And that's all I have for a supervisor's report. So if anybody's got questions for me, let me know. Yes? You probably should come up to the microphone for the sake of the recording, or well, waving is fine. It makes a difference. You choose how you want to be heard by the
Real
public.
simple. What'd you find out when you investigated the road ends and the drains, and what was your results?
Lyon Township is in real good shape on the drains that are in the roads going towards the lake. I did not think they had that as well in hand as I saw. There's ditching that needs to be done to slow water down where there is not those drains. And they do a good job of trying to bring them back uphill so that the water is going down, and before they get down to the end, if the last one on the end freezes, it's gonna, blow right over the top of it. They do, and I used to work road construction and maintenance. I don't have an issue with what they're doing, and we talked about I found two roads, both of them are in Evergreen Park, but they're not paved, but I can see where better ditching would help. In Garrish Township, I think there were 7 roads that are not, in my opinion, effectively great drained on the pavement heading towards Higgins Lake. Ditching, I didn't put a lot of time into that. You're really only looking at roads that go to the lake, and the elevation is such that you're gonna have a problem. There's a lot of roads, you don't need anything. Hillcrest here, that's a big hill, and coming off of there, there's a grade already in the road, goes all the way across the road. So the issue is gonna become, how often do they do the maintenance on them? Do we need to improve the maintenance on them? The road ends themselves, you stand on one of those road ends and look at what's there, and you look at this lake, and you realize how insignificant the erosion is on the end of a road compared to all the private property that's around here. Not to say that we can't do something about it, but, it's like the end of the roads is not the end all be all. It's just gonna be one additional piece. I'll go back and talk with them some more. I was there to look at, in the future on our budget, could we start shifting more towards those grades? And after looking at it all, they're doing a pretty good job. And I probably said too much. Sorry, Dave. Any other questions? Go ahead.
Are you gonna be looking at the side roads
In regards to what?
in regards to trying to fix the drainage and stuff?
Well, it comes down to ditches on hills that are actually going to the lake. Somebody else brought this up too. Well, what about the roads up on the hill that are all screwed up in the road? That's not even what I was looking for. I was looking for on paved roads where the grates are and the road ends that are highly susceptible based on an elevation of more than 5 or 6%, which isn't that much. And they're there. The gravel roads, that's what you got to ditch. You can grate some of them, but it's better to pave it and grade it at the same time. And they just did some of that on McKinley, I think, right by your house. So they don't go up there and throw drains in on the gravel roads. They pave it to that point and put drains in. But this, I don't want to get bogged up in this. Yeah, I get it.
Because Eastern's got drains that goes down to the lake. So
I'm not sure what you're asking me.
I was just curious if you're gonna start looking at some of the back roads and you're doing some of that.
I don't know, didn't get that far. Because the budget gets planned out, like the budget for next year in the road work and into the year following is already set. They got their wheels spinning. We can't change any of that. I was looking at you know, when you get a year and a half, 2 years down the road, can we start looking at different things?
Yeah.
I'll get there. Yeah, good point. I'll ask about, you know, what,
Just curious. I mean,
they did say, you know, for the pay.
I'm over on Clearview and Cherry up the hill of Eastern, the bottom of my driveway is a sandbox.
Yeah, I did not get into any of the things
And
other
that's
than,
just asking, are you gonna start looking into some of that stuff? As you're talking about road commissions.
if you would like me to ask and look into it, I certainly will.
I'm just curious, cause, I mean, I've brought at least 10 loads of limestone into my driveway because of, like.
Here's what I
have
would,
ditches in my driveway.
I understand, hey, I agree with you. I got road problems too.
I know, a lot of people do.
Here's, if you want a 100% success rate on me following through with this, the supervisor contact report is now on the website, interactive. You don't even have to fill a paper one out. Go on the website, hit me up, remind me of this, and I'll put it in the file for the road commission, and I'll get after it.
Just a question.
Well, I think I can help. Anybody else? Okay. So we'll move on into, well, we're not quite to the agenda. We'll move into the approval of the consent agenda. And the consent agenda includes the payroll, the bills paid, the check ledger from number 11036 through 11078. Special meeting 12:30, 24 minutes. The board meeting 12:18, 24 minutes. Previous board or committee reports, if any. I don't think there's any in this group. And the department reports, the fire, EMS, maintenance clerk, treasurer, ordinance officer, sexton, supervisor that we just went over. This compromises the consent agenda and is again all on that back table and will be eventually on the webpage too. So that being said, do we have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
I'll make that motion.
Do we have a second? Okay, we got the motion. Discussion on it? Okay, we'll end the discussion period. On the motion to approve the consent agenda, could we have a roll call, please, Clerk Byrne?
Supervisor Bertrand.
You're gonna have to use the mic or screen, one or the other, for the recording.
Supervisor Bertrand.
Yes.
Treasurer Hop.
Yes.
Clerk Byrne, yes. Trustee Monet,
Yay.
and Detmer is excused.
Thanks, sir. The motion carries. Okay, we're gonna move into old business. Been playing phone tag with the Eagle rep on the compost site inspection. I did start the application process, talked with them again. We're actually good with them, and hope to get it done before the end of the month, but we're good. It's not like they're gonna chase us around on this, but they do want our money in the end. The newsletter's still on hold until we get well into the budget, as I mentioned. The supervisor is starting the budget on 1/22/25. That is not an official meeting. That is me meeting with somebody, a CPA. The official meeting dates will be set in this board meeting agenda yet tonight. As I mentioned, the interactive supervisor contact form for comments, questions, suggestions, and contact requests is now on the webpage in an interactive form. And thank you, John.
Did you want to get into how successful it's been? There's been a few sent in?
Yes, thank you. There's several comments have already come in on the webpage, which is a good indicator. I mean, people go there and they're seeing it. They're all positive. And one, I'll have to show John this one. There's one with somebody speaking in tongues that I don't quite understand. Yeah, it goes on to get worse. I'm not even sure who that is, or if it's just a joke or what. Anyhow, we'll keep trying to move. It's about our time. Oh my God. All right, the agenda with new business. I'm gonna haul ass on this stuff. We got a lot to do. In the new business, from the 1/8/25 work session, the board discussed designating me, Supervisor Bertrand, to be the FOIA coordinator rather than the township clerk. To do that, we will have to make an amendment to the resolution 2018-005 titled FOIA Coordinator Resolution. To do so, that amendment made would then read as follows. Now therefore be it resolved that on the 15th day of January 2025, the Lyon Township Board designates the Township Supervisor to serve as the FOIA Coordinator and the Township Deputy Clerk to serve as the Township FOIA Coordinator Assistant. That's in quotes. On the amendment to the resolution as stated, do we have that motion?
Did you mean what you said here, deputy clerk rather than deputy supervisor?
Thank you. Yes, that should say deputy supervisor. Thank
Okay,
you.
John.
That's why you're a clerk.
Yeah.
You see these things. Okay, let me go back and read just that last sentence then. And the township deputy supervisor to serve as a township FOIA coordinator assistant. On that amendment to the resolution as restated, do we have that motion?
I'll make the motion.
Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, we have the motion. Is there any discussion on it? Okay, we'll end the discussion. This may involve money at times for fees on FOIA, Clerk Pern, so could you please do a roll call vote?
Second I will. Trustee Monet,
Yes.
clerk Kern, yes. Treasurer Hop,
Yes.
supervisor Bertrand,
Yes.
and Detmer is excused.
Okay, then the motion carries. Still under the old agenda, item 2 was from the work session, due to the important information being discussed in work sessions, I believe that we should make every effort to have our work sessions professionally recorded by Monster Media in the same manner as our monthly board meetings, then posted on the township webpage. Will someone make that motion?
I'll make that motion.
And do we have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, we got the motion. Is there any discussion on this?
There is some discussion. I think this aid to us is invaluable. I think it's wonderful that we're including it at the work session now. Makes everybody's job easier in the office and easier to have the public view this thing. So I applaud.
Yeah, I have a question. What is the general approximate turnaround time for this to get posted online when we record this?
It's not on him. He does it, you know. I'm just saying it's not, he does it and gets it back to us within 24 hours, a lot shorter than
I've
that.
had it the next day.
Then we have to get it from there onto YouTube, and that's John's department. She does it it's not that hard to do. And as with the learning curve, with everything else, what used to take us 3 days is now a lot shorter. Is there any other comment or any other discussion on it? Okay, so we have a motion, and again, it involves money. So could we have a roll call vote? Please, Clerk Pern.
Certainly. Treasurer Hop,
Yes.
clerk Kern, yes. Trustee Monet,
Yay.
supervisor Bertrand,
Yes.
and trustee Detmer excused.
Okay, the motion carries. Item 3, continuation on the health insurance. I'll try and do a brief explanation of a long story. We have to renew, and in looking at it, there's a lot of things that we don't particularly like. And a lot of things that I'm not sure we're getting a straight story on, and this includes the health insurance and the retirement package. The insurance company will give us 3 months we can renew, and then we have 3 months to actually look at it and change our minds if we want to do something going forward. After that, it's a done deal. As far as trying to coordinate it with any kind of Medicare, the Medicare stuff is set till October. So we're walking in on the tail end of what the previous board did, that we really can't alter the way that we would like to. So that being said, do we have a motion to approve the continuation of the health insurance up to 3 months and then reevaluate it?
I'll make that motion.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion. Any discussion on it?
Are we gonna try to include the?
You gotta try to use that.
Are we going to try to include the other portion, the pension stuff, or not?
I believe I mentioned that both,
Yes.
yeah, we can reevaluate both.
Okay, is that
The
what-
pension is a different company, but we're not under a time constraint there. I think if you want to bail, you can just bail, but to put it mildly, the amount of money that this township in tax money was giving to the previous board for a pension, not happening anymore like that. There's no free money to that extent. We'll change it. I'm just not sure what it's going to come up to, but in order to meet the deadline, we got to stick with it long enough to look at some variables, some other companies, might change things completely. Okay, at that point, is there any more discussion? Okay, again, it involves money. Could we please have a roll call vote? Clerk Pern.
Okay, trustee Monet,
Yay.
clerk Pern, yes. Treasurer Hobbs,
Yes.
supervisor Bertrand,
Yes.
and trustee Detmer excused, okay.
Okay, the motion carries. Number 4 is the Higgins Lake United lawsuit. Trustee Monet talked about that briefly. From our attorneys, this lawsuit is pretty much over, but we have been asked to make sure that we finalize it in a correct manner by our legal firm. So, is there a motion to accept the dismissal of that suit and file it appropriately?
I'll make the motion.
Okay, we have a motion. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, is there any discussion on that?
I would like to say something that, just like I did in previous conversations to do with this lawsuit, that it would just seem appropriate that, although I may have been named a representative when I was just a quote-unquote citizen, that I will be abstaining this evening from voting on this for obvious reasons.
Is there any other discussion? Okay, on the motion to accept the dismissal and file appropriately for the Higgins Lake lawsuit, to be sure, could we have a roll call vote on that too, Clerk Pern?
Certainly, treasurer Hobbs,
Yes.
clerk Pern, yes. Trustee Monet,
Abstain.
supervisor Bertrand,
Yes. Okay, the motion carries. Number 5 is the AMVETS lawsuit versus Lyon Township. We have been informed by our attorneys that all the briefs have been filed. Their recommendation, they gave us 3 recommendations. One of them is theirs, 2 were options. We need a motion to follow and accept our legal firm's advice on this case. This
I'll
can
make
be
that motion.
explained a little bit further in a discussion after we get a motion.
I'll make that motion.
Okay, do we have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion. Any discussion on it? For me personally, I'm aware of this. What was explained to me is that this thing is almost done, and we need to make a motion and decide how we want to go with it, and we're going to go with to follow the lawsuit that we, or the law firm that we pay to do these things. We're going to follow their advice. So that's pretty much what we just passed. The particulars are not set yet, so I don't want to go into any of that yet. So it's just another step in the process, but I'm being told this is just a matter of days.
Yeah, I'd like to chime in and say that being a legal freedom procedural guideline kind of person, that I feel very comfortable with letting the law firm take care of this and advise us in a way that would be appropriate for both parties. And, yeah, I think moving forward on this is sooner the better.
Any other discussion? Okay, again, to be safe, because money might end up being involved in this, could we have a roll call vote, please, Clerk Kern?
Clerk Kern, yes. Trustee Monet.
Yay.
Supervisor Bertrand.
Yes.
Treasurer Hop.
Yes.
Okay, the motion carries. Number 6, we're now in a position to declare the need for and hire an ordinance officer / sexton. I think, and again, I cannot speak for the board, so I always, you're gonna hear me say I a lot, because I can't really say we. I think this is the best employee combination to start that will put our township back together with the least amount of confusion. The position would potentially pay $15 an hour and be up to at least 15 hours a week. We're not talking about hiring anybody, we're talking about approving the fact that we're going to. Would someone make that motion?
I'll make the motion.
Okay, is there a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, we got the motion. Is there any discussion on this at this point in time?
I got one thing. Whoever we do hire, if that is anybody, we're gonna interview them.
We have the ability to hire without interview. We're making a motion to, I don't want to complicate it at this late hour. We're making a motion to start the process. There's nothing else on here unless we start trying to amend the wording in this motion.
Just wanna know if we can interview the person.
Yes, we can. I don't know, I can't say definitively that that's gonna happen until we get there. I can tell you we have the right to just hire somebody and we have the right to interview somebody. We have the right to post the position and we have the right to not post the position.
That's fine, but I just don't think it's a good idea to hire somebody we don't interview first, that's all.
I'm not disagreeing with you, but that's not what this is about at this time. Unless you want, we could try and do a quick change on the wording if you want. Is there any other discussion? Okay, so that would be the end of the discussions. And again, I can't tell anybody how to vote. On the motion to hire someone as an ordinance officer sexton as stipulated, could we have a roll call vote, please, Clerk Perman?
Yes. Supervisor Bertrand.
Yes, for the motion, yes.
Treasurer Hop.
Yes for the motion.
Clerk Kern, yes. I got my excuse. Trustee Monet.
Yay.
Okay, the motion carries. Number 7 is a recommendation to appoint Corey Plum, Lyon Township resident on Morristown Road, a business owner, to the Lyon Township Board of Review to a 2-year term starting 1/15/25. This is a late appointment. It would be now intended to end on 1/1/27 unless it's corrected to reflect that it's a later date as start. I will make that motion. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, we have a second. Is there any discussion on it?
Yes. What do we know about Corey Plum? Because I don't know a thing.
He is a business owner and is interested in doing the training so that his education on taxes comes up somewhat of a match to the different businesses that he owns.
Okay.
Seems to be a good fit.
All right.
Is there any other discussion? Okay, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Okay.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Number 8 is a recommendation to appoint Richard Mapplebeck, Lyon Township resident on West Higgins Lake Drive, a retired builder, to a position on the Zoning Board of Appeal. This is a 3-year term effective 1/30/25. And I will make that motion too.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a second. Is there any discussion on this?
A little discussion, I like the fact that you have a retired builder getting on the zoning board, that puts a little background in his file, so I guess, yes, I think that's probably a good fit as well.
Well, I could have prefaced this by saying we need to fill these positions. Those two recommendations seem to be what we're looking for. People who have time and have some experience in the areas and are willing to learn more about it. Any other discussion? Okay, we'll end the discussion. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Number 9 is a recommendation to appoint Timothy Monet, Lyon Township resident, current Lyon Township trustee, to a position on the Zoning Board of Appeal. Trustee Monet is also on the Planning Commission, so that additional Zoning Board of Appeal stipulation is met. One of the Zoning Board of Appeal board members of the 3 needs to be on the Planning Commission. He is already on it. This is a 3-year term effective 1/30/25. I will make that motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, we have a second. Is there any discussion on this? Okay, we'll end the discussion. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Number 10, a motion that we and the county approve the plan to correct the overcharge on the taxes as was previously discussed by Treasurer Hops. Treasurer Hops can explain this in the discussion if we have a motion.
I'll
Do
make
we
that
have-
motion.
Okay, thank you. Is there a second on that motion? I'll second, okay. Plenty of them. Okay, is there any discussion on this, or Treasurer Hop, do you want to revisit it?
I think I explained it earlier.
Okay, any other discussion?
Yeah, I just want to clarify. So on the next tax statement cycle, there will be, obviously you don't see this very often, there'll be a minus column for the,
Very often?
or something in parentheses to signify a deduction.
No, there will be a credit onto your next tax bill.
That's what I mean, but will it be itemized as such
Yeah,
credit?
there'll be, just working out the wording on
Okay.
it.
I just
But
want-
there will, you'll see it, trust me. I'll make sure it's in bold letters, so
All right, yeah,
everybody
well,
can see it.
Once in a lifetime credit. I mean, hey.
It'll be free.
And I do have something for the discussion too, just to put everybody at ease, the county has signed off on, I mean, this isn't word of mouth stuff. We have the documentation, so,
Well, since they missed it, they better sign off on it.
yeah, if they screwed up, I guess they're invested. Okay, any other discussion? On the motion to approve the plan, can we have a roll call vote, Clerk Byrne?
Sure, trustee Monet,
Yay.
Clerk Byrne, yay. Treasurer Hop,
Yes.
Supervisor Bertrand,
Yes.
trustee Detmar excused.
Okay, the motion carries. Number 11, a motion to set the budget meeting dates for January, which is actually going to be the last week in January, and the first week of February. We need to set these so that we can post them. Likely, they are going to be on Wednesdays, because as a board, we have difficulty meeting on any other day but a Wednesday, at a time that does not conflict with a work session that's already scheduled. So this is not the dates. This is, do we have a motion to set the dates?
I like the motion.
Okay, do we have a second?
I'll second
Okay, in the discussion, somebody who's good with their phone, there's really only a couple of choices there to look at. On the 23rd, it cannot be on the 23rd. I believe that's the date for something else that we're
Well, that's a
doing.
Thursday.
Yeah, let me look at this again if I can get to my calendar.
Yeah.
No, it cannot be on the 22nd. So certainly the 29th is available. Is that, we don't have any meetings, board meetings or work sessions on the 29th, do we?
Do you have a time involved?
Well, that's the second part of the discussion. We could, if it was a board meeting or work session day, we could work around it. If we don't have anything else going on, what are your suggestions here for times?
Well, what do we have right now on the 29th? Anything?
There is
There
not
is- there is the pagan festival for the new Lunar New Year. We might have
Well,
to
I'm
take
going to that.
Yeah, so, you know.
Go to that too.
No.
Okay.
If there's no board meeting or no work session, my personal agenda, I'll work, we gotta do these things,
Yeah.
so.
Early.
Early better than any,
Yep.
okay, what do you think, Mr. Hops?
Anytime's fine.
Mr. Non-committal,
9 AM. How about
You're on
9?
that anyway, so it doesn't matter.
I can do 9, doesn't matter to me.
Sure.
Yep.
Okay, so one of the dates would be 1/29/25 at 9 o'clock. So going into the first week of February, are we again crashing into a board meeting or work session on the 5th?
No, our work session is February 12th and our board meeting is the 19th. And then you and I have a GLUA meeting as well on the morning of the 12th at 9 AM in Garish.
Anybody else got anything personal on the 5th that they're aware of that would get in the way of doing this? Okay, about the time again, do we want to go early or is there a reason to do something different?
Does it work best for you, 9 o'clock?
I'm up at 5, so
Okay, let's make it 5:30. 9 is fine.
Okay, so the second date is going to be 2/5/25. We're only setting these two dates for the moment because when I meet with the CPA, we maybe have to coordinate something different if he wants to be involved at some level in there. So we have two dates, 1/29/25, 2/5/25. Okay. On the motion for the dates set at 1/29/25 and 2/5/25, all those in favor signify with an aye.
Yay.
Aye. Opposed? Okay, the motion carries. We are done with the agenda. It's time for public comments. So if anybody has anything to say, please come up, use the microphone. For the record, we need to be, again, improving on a learning curve. We need to, if we remind you to state your name and where you live and which township, it's only because we are somewhat demanded to make sure that we have that information. So we've already gone through some minutes where we didn't get that from the person. We're going, we can't even put down the name of the person who asked. So if you have a comment, please come on up and make sure to start with your name, your address, and which township. There should be a small gray button right at the base of this thing, right at that seam. And if you push that, if a green light comes on under your hand, you're good.
I just have my name is Jim Osling, I'm a trustee in Garish Township. I just had a question only because I didn't hear it correctly from Mr. Bertram's, report. You said, the question, you said that you were not in favor, or you're only looking for one outcome, and I think you said you're not for the efforts of the steering committee. That's what I'd like, if you could just explain that to me again.
What I'm not for is a steering committee that advertised for people that only agreed with what their agenda was, and I am not for an advisory board that is advertised for the same. At the Garish meeting, even Supervisor Hill got into it with somebody on Zoom about, we don't want other opinions. If you're on board with this, we're going to move in this direction. The advisory board for the county commissioners also took applications, 3 people from each township, and there's no check and balance on who's doing the hiring, who's doing the committee hiring. I am against all of that, all of that.
Okay, that's fine. I think we have a meeting coming up that we can go through that a little bit more. We'll just discuss it at that meeting, I guess.
Well, we can, but when people get upset and argue with people who have a different opinion and want to be involved,
But see, that's
I'm
simply
out.
not true. But now's not the time for us to discuss that.
well, no, but the thing that happened on Zoom was that way.
Actually, I was part of that, and that's not true. But,
No, I know Lori Andrews was trying to make the case that you should put other people on the board who have different opinions and are from the other camp. And the answer was, no, we're not going to do that.
Okay,
We only want people who are going to go the direction we're going.
okay, that answers my question. Thank you very much.
All right. Come right up, sir.
Good evening, John Barra. Am I on? Can you hear me?
No.
There we go.
There.
And Paul, just to kind of, well, first of all, the discussions today, I think were interesting, and I wanted to make sure I understand the format. In the initial part, when you added a lot of stuff to the agenda, there was sort of an interactive discussion. You were asking people if they had opinions. Was that at a point where the public could actually ask? I mean, people were asking questions, and I just wanted to I didn't really want to stop and ask at that point because I didn't know if it was appropriate or not.
What I was trying to get to, and this is a learning curve again, as we do these board reports, I believe there should be time for the audience to ask each department head, each of us questions, and I believe I tried to ask if there was any questions. Well, yeah, and maybe I wasn't being clear.
You did, but I wasn't sure if it was for the board.
That's probably on me, John.
Okay, but that's okay. I just wanted to make sure, and that will probably be in the future, so that would be an opportunity.
I see no reason to not keep pursuing that. I go to a lot of different township meetings, other than Garish. Though Garish has changed some. Other townships, that's SOP, standard operating procedure.
Okay, great. I appreciate that. I was just looking for some clarification so that. Secondly, the Higgins Lake Utility Authority, it was created in 2007. I was looking at the contract, and I'm just curious, at some point, the board members there, it was three for Lyon, 1 for Beaver, and 1 at large, and at some point, Lyon relinquished one of its representatives, and I don't understand why, especially with Lyon paying like 92% of all of those fees, and so I guess, at a point where we're correcting things, or the board is trying to correct things, it seems to me like that would be an appropriate issue for the Lyon Township Board to say, look, we really ought to have 3 representatives here because we're paying 90%. So I don't understand that, but I would be looking for some history to understand a little bit more. I was not around when that occurred, but it really doesn't make a lot of sense to me to have an even split and then 1 at large that says, look, we can go either way when Lyon has such a huge investment in what's going on there. So anyway, that is something that I'd be looking for some history there. So, and I'm not looking for an answer, but if you're willing to give me some direction, I would appreciate that.
I can only say thank you for your comment at the end because I'm in the same boat as you. I don't know that much about the history of it. I know that Brian Cook is here, who was our candidate for the 50-50 position, and he's usually pretty vocal. I'm assuming he's going to get up and say something here before the night's over.
Great.
Maybe he could shed some light on it. As far as taking a position on it, I'm miles from that.
Okay, well, it's particularly given, all the different things that are happening, which then leads me to some questions about appointments for the boards that are here. I think in the interest of what Tim is saying, in the interest of process and your comments on transparency, that it would, and I think Garish has kind of saddled this one fairly well, that to say, look, here are the appointments that are available. Here are the board positions that we have. Here's what's available, and make it available for Lyon Township residents to apply for those, to submit an application, because the idea of having, the good old boy network is probably not a good one. And I think it would satisfy more of what you just said, Paul, which was, you need to have people who have different opinions, because it really, honestly, it appears as if that's what you guys are doing, that you are only assigning people who agree with your opinion, and you don't want anyone else. And I just want to be honest, that's the optic, and so it almost looks like the pot calling the kettle black here, okay? So just some feedback for you, okay? I am interested in the AMVETS lawsuit, and I am interested to know how you guys voted, what you are supporting. And so there's very little transparency there. I assume that information is foiable, and so everybody here could find out what is going on with that. So I do think that there is some responsibility of the board to provide more detail on that. Now, I certainly don't understand the dynamics, but if the information is foiable, then I think you're obligated to explain some of that to us. And I'm not really sure exactly which lawsuit you're talking about. I am aware of one, there could be more, but I am interested in that. So I do think you have an obligation to share that, especially once you guys are voting. We need to know how you guys are voting on that. I think for Representative or Board Member Hops, if you guys could put something out on the website relative to the mistake that occurred. I know you did say it was $3 to $20, which isn't a lot, but if you could put something out on the website that says, here's what happened, and here's an example, and here's how you can figure out the effect that it has on you, I think that would be beneficial, because that would make me feel better that it's only $15.
Yeah, we just actually found this out a day ago, so I agree. I think we should put it out there so everybody who doesn't attend the meeting or see the meeting and explain it to them what it entails. Absolutely, it's their money. I mean, they should know.
I appreciate that. So, and I hope to see something like that. I think it will make people more comfortable about what's happening. And lastly, and I you guys feel like you have a mandate, and today, Paul, you said that 760 people voted for you. In fact, it was 635, because I had to go back because I know I was wrong on some other stuff. It was actually 635, but we all know...
Primary or general?
I'm sorry? Okay.
Primary or general?
The general was 635. The numbers, and I can show you what I have, but everybody knows that you guys are elected in the primary. That's where that occurred, okay? And so when you guys had somebody opposing you, Paul, you had 412 people vote for you, okay? That's, and Julie had just under 200. So and there's 1445. That's less than 70% of the registered voters. So, and that was very similar to for all of our elected board members. And I'm not distorting this, those are real numbers. So please keep in mind that the election was not overwhelming. Certainly you took out all of the board members that were there, but it was less than 70% of the people, registered voters in our township. So there's a lot of people who may or may not have supported you. And so you please keep them in mind that there's a lot of people who may not feel the same way that you do, and it's a significant number. So I just want to remind you that, because you did take the opportunity to say that how many people voted for you today. And I would be happy to show you the number that came right from the Roscommon County website, which showed 635, not 760, and that the true numbers were around 400 for all of you during the primary. Thank you.
Thanks. To your point on how we appoint people, point taken. On the AMVETS, we are following the legal advice. I know particulars that the reason we voted to follow their advice was to not be talking about the particulars before it's settled. We're not supposed to be putting that out because it's not completely done. The briefs have been filed. We're following their advice. Yes, there's more information, but it's not over. It would be, we'd be getting, the cart before the horse if we started talking about that stuff.
Yeah, that's why I wonder why you're voting for it then.
We voted to follow the attorney's advice. Simple, that's what the motion was.
It's still pending, though. If you don't have all the details, why would you put the cart before the horse?
Thank you for your opinion.
Okay, thank you.
Oh, I'm sorry, one more thing. Yeah, the taxes is a good idea, we'll get it. As far as the voters, you are correct in the numbers, if I was mistaken on the 700, but also the turnout for that election was, if not a record breaker, was real close to it.
It was a presidential
So when you consider,
election.
yeah, when you consider all the people who live here that are registered voters, if they don't come out to vote, they don't come out to vote. We can't determine if they were for us, as you can't determine if they were against us. They decided not to vote. But anyway, thanks.
I'd like to chime in here. I've done some thinking about this, if I may, and I always appreciate your comments. Is 70% of 1,000 or people that came out to vote, 70% of maybe 100 people who came out to vote, 70% of 200 million people that decide to come out and vote, is it any less valid? Could we look at Biden's win 4 years ago and say, well, only a certain percentage came out, therefore he really didn't win by that much? I mean, it's kind of like football in that last ditch stand. A win's a win, and I don't, and this has come up a couple times and I appreciate it, but if 1,000 people only chose to show up to vote and 70% of the people, or if the candidates that won took 70% of the vote, then to go back is like saying, well, it really wasn't that good because, not everyone came out. Well,
Jim, you're absolutely right. I agree.
I do, I'm being reminded here, we cannot carry the discussion on.
yeah.
We had a 5-minute limit.
Great. I appreciate the time
Yeah,
very
we'll
much.
do, your certainly good comments, and we'll
My only
respond
point
to
is
what we
that
can.
there's a lot of people, you can't feel like it's a huge mandate, because it's not.
Well, thank you for your opinion. Is there anybody else who wants to come up and say anything?
He didn't identify himself.
Oh, he did, that's John Barter, right?
Yeah, you did.
Yeah, you did.
Okay. Anybody else? Oh, here we go. So Brian, I would only say, and I don't mean to lean you one way or the other, you're pretty well versed in all of this. It is up to you if you want to answer his questions or not, or just make comments and go.
My first question is, when talking about this AMVETS lawsuit, are we talking about AMVETS Post 13, or are we talking about AMVETS Lodge? Because there's
No,
two
you're-
AMVETS.
One thing I guess I can say without, alluding to anything is that the AMVETS Post 13, if I'm not correct, sued Lyon Township over the way that they were being asked to pay taxes on what they perceived to be a nonprofit organization.
And that's specifically Post 13, not the Lodge? Or you're not sure when?
I'm not going to answer that because I
Okay.
really don't know.
No, and that's fine.
And I can say this too, when we took office and we brought in a new law firm, they're obligated to go after these suits that were already in existence. So one was what I keep calling AMVETS, the other one was Higgins Lake United.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, because I don't know if this board's aware, but there's actually two different AMVETS issues. One's to do with Lodge, one's to do with Post 13, and they're very different in one sense. On the board.
I know the answer, but I can't tell
No,
you.
you're fine, you're fine, you're fine. The GLUA board is made up from 3 people from Garish, 3 people from Lyon Township, and a 50-50 position. 2/3 of the properties for that sewer is in Garish Township. 1/3 is in Lyon Township. It's a 50-50 board. When the HLUA was created, it was a 3-1-1 board. In 2009, which is when the utility authority became operational, it was changed to a 2-2-1 board, so it was a true 50-50 board. I'm not going to get into all the detail of it, but here's the basics of it. If one township has more people on the board than the other township, there's no point in that other township even showing up to the meetings because they're already outvoted. It's not a mutual thing. That's the main reason for all of them being 50-50, is so you don't have one township being able to overrun another township. It's to keep it equal. And I may have missed something here, but if I understand correctly, Brian Cook, Lyon Township, sorry for that. Myself and Corey Plum, I believe they're the only 2 board of review members currently appointed. It's a 3-person board. I believe we've only got 2
I
currently.
can answer you there. Yeah, I think there's only 2, and I'm looking, there's still 1 to go, I
Okay.
believe. Yeah.
My concern is the last 2 years, we've only had 2 members at our March Board of Review meetings. Luckily, we've made it through that. It becomes very difficult in the winter and with everything going on. If we only have 2 people and one gets sick and can't be there, that is a huge, huge problem to reschedule and redo everything. It creates a huge nightmare. And also, so you guys are aware, there's only 2 free training sessions through the state. That's January 22nd and February 11th. And then there's only 3 training sessions from MTA for Zoom. And those you do have to pay for. They're the exact same training. The last couple of years, we've done the state ones for free to obviously save the township some money. So I'm not trying to be critical, but trying to express the concern that we're running out of time on this. On another note,
I can answer that. Yeah, I got your email, and when I looked at it, that's why we made the move for Corey Plum today, and I understand the situation. And where the training dates are, if we end up having to pay for it, that's the consequence of us having so much else going on that we haven't been able to catch up with this stuff.
Yeah.
So actually, at the point that the lawsuits are getting close, we're now into the boards and into the budget. So yes, you're absolutely correct. I'm behind the 8 ball, not the 8 ball, I'm behind on this. But if we have to eat the money to train them because we didn't get ahead of it, then that's the way it's going to be.
yes, I just wanted to make sure you guys were aware. I brought this up at the Beaver Creek Township Board meeting last week when I was there, yesterday when I was there. This is something that's been going on for a while, but haven't heard lately. The 2 township fire departments were working together to get a grant to install a fire hydrant and water well at the Higgins Lake Utilities Authority treatment plant for use by either township's fire department. And the reason for that is there's really nowhere for them to get water around here. The stuff they've got to pull it from the lake, all they get sand and it destroys their trucks. So I haven't heard anything, I'm not asking for anything today, but just to let you guys know, so everybody's aware. The utility authority fully supports this. We've supported it for the last couple of years as it's been discussed. We've agreed to allow that new well and hydrant to be connected to our power at the plant, free of charge, and it'll also be run off from our generator. So if we're in a power outage situation, that hydrant should work. So that would be very beneficial to both townships in the whole area. That's all I have for today, unless you have a question for me or anything.
No, when you see Kim, have her get a hold of me about the fire hydrant thing, or if there's anything we can, that sounds like a good idea to us.
Yes, I don't know if I know JC was involved with it. The fire chief for Beaver Creek has changed hands, recently. So I think it's kind of more, once we get the two chiefs together again, then we'll be able to figure something out. Thank you.
Thank you, Brian. Any other residents here who want to make some comments or some suggestions? Come on up there, young fellow. You've been standing in the back there all night.
Sam Bedoyan, Jr., Lyon Township. When you were talking about the road commission, the citizens should know they have an option to contact the road commission. I'll give you an example. Where I live, there's Elm Street, that runs right down to the lake. And where that starts is where the Camp Cornelia starts. It has a lot of drainage issue. And when we have problems with that road, we call the road commission, they come out and take care of it. So if you wanted to call as a citizen on your street, just call the road commission and they will come out. That's number one. Number two, as chairman of the township board, I believe you have the prerogative of opening it up to the public for discussion on the subject matter. Number three, I mentioned at the last meeting that if I had to bring up numbers to remind the public how things did go in the election, the primary and the November election, I will do so. But first, I do want to read this article. Houghton Lake Resorter. Political story of the month. Local incumbents ousted on August the 8th. Lyon Township voters made their decision in the August 6th primary when it came to electing the all-new board, and they chose 5 new Republican township officials to represent them. Voters turned out over the board by roughly a 2-to-1 margin. Historically, I'm not a numbers guy, that's not a secret. But when you have a primary and you have 5 people that are in office as Republicans, and you have 5 here that are running as Republicans, it's up to this decision of the 1,444 approximate registered voters to vote. That's not a secret. But if you look at those numbers, and you call the Roscommon County Clerk's office, she'll give you the percentage of how this has been going on for years. The registered voter count is up. So the percentages will be up. You're not gonna have 1,450 registered voters that I've ever seen since I've been here vote. There's always a percentage. This one was high percentage. The general election, they were unopposed. All they had to do was have somebody vote for them, they were in. But I think you're overlooking when you talk about numbers, I think it was mentioned that you need to serve the entire community of Lyon Township. That's absolutely true. There's roughly 3,000 or 3,500 parcels. The treasurer can find that out and give the exact number. In the township, does that not mean there's 3,000 or 3,500 people that are here at Higgins Lake? But out of that, you only have 1,450 registered voters. So these other folks do call and contact, I'm sure, the township on issues. It's not that they're being forgotten, but you're overlooking that fact. Now, let's back up. In the campaign last year, the gentlemen that are up here now, and those that know how things were promoted, there was, 7 meet and greets? There was 3 mailers out to all the registered voters, so it's not like they didn't know who they were. And at the meet and greet, yes, there was not hundreds of people there, but if there was 50 people there, they went back to their neighborhoods and discussed with their neighbors, especially those that are weekenders, that are in the SAD district, that had the sewer problem, that were going to be involved in the sewer and pay X amount of dollars. But then when the septic ordinance came into place, that affected everyone. And this board saw fit to rescind it, and I believe they're going to come up with something that's a lot friendlier, that we do need one. And as I mentioned the other day at the meeting in Lyon Township on Monday, Michigan is the only state that doesn't have a law governing septics. So the townships are trying to do something about that. Thank you.
Thank you, Sam. Is there any other comments from the people who are here tonight? Okay, we're gonna end the public comments, but I'm glad that Sam got up because I was sent something today from the Central Michigan District Health Department that needs to be on this tape. They are not gonna do a new time of transfer, title transfer training, as they put it in the message to me. Or they're not gonna do a review. They're going to do only a new training. So we're talking about point of sale time of transfer, and we have a lot of people here who may see this video who are registered inspectors. I am myself, but I don't do them. But the training for this year is going to be February 24th at 9 to 12 in Mount Pleasant. So if anybody is a septic inspector or interested in the time of transfer, that's the date that they might want to be paying attention to, because apparently there's not going to be a refresher, and it sounded like this might be the only one for the whole year. The other aspect being that we're talking about point of sale time of transfer for septic and well. There's no point to be screwing around just looking at septic tanks. And anyway, that might be useful to somebody. Okay, well then we will, and are at the point where we can potentially adjourn. Do we have a motion? Okay, do we have a second?
I'll second that.
Okay, then the meeting would be adjourned at 8:34. Thank you for all coming.